Moving on now and turning to Wayne County, a lot happened this week in the case of a former Inkster police officer caught on video beating a motorist during a traffic stop. Prosecutor Kym Worthy announced 2 felony charges against William Melendez. As you can see in this dash cam video, courtesy of the Detroit Free Press, Melendez hits 57-year-old Floyd Dent about 14 times in the head. The officer also said cocaine was found in Dent's car. However, the drug charge against Dent has been dropped. Melendez was fired from the Inkster and Highland Park police departments. This case really makes you wonder what would have happened had the video of the beating not come to light, or if there hadn't been working cameras in the police car. And then just in the last 24 hours, the Inkster police chief has resigned her post in the wake of this case. So it brings together a lot of questions about, again, the relationships, Nolan, between police and between motorists, and the fact that this was an incident that happened in January and the public didn't know anything about it. The prosecutor didn't know anything about it until a video surfaced on local television news. It's a little disturbing in itself.
Well, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of those encounters every day. Most of them don't end up this way. In fact, very, very few do. Fortunately, they had a video of this. You got a bad cop. You've got an abysmal police department that probably should have been dissolved. Doesn't have the money to operate. Doesn't have the money to train. Doesn't have the money to pay for top police officers. It should have been dissolved. Wayne County should have found a way to take over and contract services to this department. But, you know, fortunately there was a camera, and, you know, the right steps are being taken.
This is just adding to, again, the number of cases we're seeing interactions, either deadly interactions or definitely brutal interactions between the public and police, Stephen. And it seems like there's really no one solution, though people are talking an awful lot about body cameras, but that was filmed and
that's part of the solution. I mean, one of the things that is sort of disappointing for me in this case is the attempt to make it about this one cop or this one incident. Here you have a police officer falsely accusing somebody of having drugs. So now, to me, I think you got to go look back at every arrest that officer has made where he's said somebody had drugs. I think you got to look department wide. This is not somebody who's sort of able to operate, you know, freelance. I mean, this is part of a department and a department culture that probably needs some pretty close examination. And I think that's the key to those sort of bigger long-term solutions, rather than, you know, this officer is fired, which he probably should be, but that's not the end of the story. There's a lot more to look into here.
What I found interesting is Kym Worthy didn't charge in the case out in Grosse Pointe, where this team of officers, this regional team of officers, guy laying on the ground, handcuffed, and clearly being, you know, kicked and beaten and hit, and she didn't charge that officer. And the only difference I can see is that was a less sympathetic victim. You know, this guy was a carjacker, and he did at one point have a gun. The other guy, you know, looked like an innocent guy, and I don't know that should be the standard. And I think that was pure politics on her part. You know, they had sympathy for the one victim and not for the other, so she charged one officer and not the other.
People are talking about body cameras, though, on police officers being a good solution here to being able to tape everything that's happening. On one hand, you can agree with that and say, well, then look, there's full disclosure. You see actually what's happening in the incident. But we've had incidents where things have been taped, but like the Eric Garner case, and you saw things playing out right there on video, and that was a different outcome. We have 20 police officers who are wearing body cameras right now at Detroit Police in the 11th precinct.
Well, it's hard to argue against more evidence. I mean, you wouldn't have known what happened in Inkster without the videotape, or in some of these other places. Doesn't mean every time an encounter is videotaped, the cop's going to be, you know, at fault or going to be charged. I think it's just as useful for the officer as it is for the public.
What do you think?
I mean, I like the idea of body cams. I think, again, the idea of single solution kind of answers is too simplistic. There are a lot of different things that need to be done, and the cameras introduce a number of other ripples that need to be dealt with. You know, I mean, if they're serving a search warrant in your house and they have a camera, is that all public? You know, of course not. So now we're going to have to sort of litigate through that whole question. But if you do these things in the absence of significant policy reform, it doesn't matter anyway.
Well, and that's why there are bills pending in Michigan right now to deal with those privacy concerns. Because right now, if they had a body cam went in your house on a search, it would be public.
Anyone could look at it,
and,
right?
I think there is some concern about that.
All right.